every human on Earth connected.
The important element of the feed is that we're trying to ground it in as much reality as possible.
Something's wrong.
In the near future, about 90 to 95% of the population has this piece of technology embedded into their body, a piece of mesh that goes into the top of the spine and connects to your brain, to your retina, and everything that is available to you, let's say on a laptop, phone, or Google to augmented reality, which you can create, is available to you at sites. I'd also be able to enhance my surroundings. So that's the world in the near future. And what happens with the feed is that this piece of technology that we're reliant on goes down for about 6.5 seconds, I think it is. And it's really the consequences of that. The scary element of the show, for me, when you're watching it, is the honesty of it, the reality of it, the grounded nature of it. And this piece of technology is actually in existence now, which might shock some people, you know. In Sweden, people are they have chips in their hand, not everyone, but it's starting where, you know, where they access the car door, or they'll access their home, the entrance to their homes. So this technology is already inside us. That sounds scary to us now, and I think the reality is if I told you what today's world would be 10 years ago, that would sound really scary too. Everybody has access to everything now, you know? Everything is available in a small device. Now, basically, this is set in the next kind of 5 to 10 years where this device is implanted in you.
I don't like being afraid, Tom. I'm not good at it.
When I first read this show, I was doing another show that would be considered science fiction called Counterpart. What I liked about what I was doing at the time in Counterpart is that this science fiction, this fantasy world was steeped in honesty, grounded reality. When I read the feed, the first thing that struck me was that from the first page, Tom, I could never relate to a character as much as I did to him. You know, Tom Hatfield is this guy who is wary of technology, is involved in it slightly, but is also kind of observing what that technology means to the world, and so isn't 100% involved in it. I completely relate to it, you know. I don't have social media. I don't, you know, not that I judge it per se. I just really can't be bothered, to be honest with you. It's a lot of work with those things. What's going on?
My friend is in trouble.
What can I possibly do that you can't?
Engage. It involves his child.
Tom Hatfield, same thing. He has the technology, but he doesn't use it so much. He's a psychologist to help others not be reliant on the technology as well. So his father is the creator of the feed, and his mother runs the company. And there's two brothers, one who is happy to be part of the family dynamic and the technology that was created, and is constantly seeking the approval of his father. And then there's the other son who's separated himself from the family because he doesn't really want much to do with it.
But this needs to stay between us. Well, don't take your aversion to me out on this boy.
David Thewlis is maybe my top 3 actors of all time. I think he's a genius. I think he's a master. He's just so lovely, and he is magical. He's truly that. He's everything that you want him to be. And he gave me a gift of 460 books at the end of it, just to add to my library, just as a generous present. I think he probably just thought I was illiterate, perhaps. And so he gave those to me, but whatever, man, he's cool.
Right, thank you.
Michelle Fairley, you know, who I greatly respect as well. Before I started, I went to watch her do some amazing theatre. She didn't even know I was there at the time, but I was just watching her and just going, wow, I get the opportunity to work with this woman. Nina, we met during the chemistry reads for the show, and the wonderful aspect of working with her is that as a couple, we play a married couple, just kind of growing together for 8 months of shooting, and it almost felt like we were a married couple by the end of it, you know? She's just a lovely person.
What can I do? What do you need?
I don't know.
We don't read full articles, and when we don't even know where they come from to begin with, we read headlines. That's what we do. We read a headline, suddenly we know everything about that subject. We read a headline, apparently we know everything about that world. There's a lot of stuff that we don't know, but we're assuming that we do, and I think that's the scary element of it. There are people in certain positions of power that know how to manipulate this. They know how to manipulate your data. They know how to manipulate what headlines you see. They know how to manipulate your thought pattern at the end of the day, you know, because most of us are kind of living in a data bubble, and they're creating this polarity that, you know, that we just all hate each other and we live in this fear rather than kind of bring us together and be happy. So there's a little bit of that does exist, where it's wonderful that we're able to access so much information, but in the grand scheme of things, you just got to look at where we are today is exactly where certain people want us to be, and they've fed us this belief.
In the wrong hands, it could tear us apart.
It's weird to use this kind of word science fiction for this, because I think the kind of buzzword that they're using with this is almost like science fact, you know, something that's a possibility. I think if there's kind of two shows out there that that kind of are a parallel, well, I don't want to say parallel because, you know, these are genius shows, and so, you know, everyone has to reach their own conclusions, and, you know, they deserve to be where they are because they've achieved what they've achieved. But like Black Mirror is a decent example of this, and then Succession, which is, you know, this family drama. So you kind of mix the two worlds together, and that's pretty much what the feed is attempting to achieve, you know, this family drama and set in this you know, futuristic world. You have to get to the end of the third episode, because what goes down at the end of the third episode, it just begins to dwindle so out of control that it doesn't just suddenly go backwards again and stop and then become straight. Once it goes there, it just keeps going.
Every system is susceptible to viruses.
Everything is under control. Everything is under control. Everything is under control. Everything is under control. Control.